What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. Six Nations is just around the corner. It's finally here, meaning we can get into talk about some international rugby. Team announcements have begun, and we get to do our preview videos. This one's going to be for France versus Wales, a Friday night opener to the tournament. One of the favourites going into the tournament versus one of the favourites for the wooden spoon. That's basically how we're going into it. It could be a rough game, especially if you're someone like me over here in Wales. It could be a bit of a rough watch, and hopefully France brings some exciting rugby. I've been seeing some of the French club level stuff, and it's been looking very, very good. So we're going to jump in, take a look at the teams, do some good picks, some bad picks, some thoughts on how we think this game might go, more than one way. If you're not already, make sure you are signed up to the Fantasy. The leagues are actually getting full. We've got so many people joining in this year for the Six Nations, which is absolutely fantastic. There's a whole video up on the channel with all the codes and stuff you need to be able to join in. Get yourself involved. It really does help boost most people's interaction with the Six Nations to be able to enjoy some of the games you might not otherwise watch. And we'll dive straight in, because I want to try and make these preview videos slightly faster than I normally do, because I'm determined this year to try and keep them below the 20-minute marker. We'll start out then with the home team, France, who had a good year in 2024. They ended on a good high. I actually went back and I looked at a couple of the scores. 37 versus 23 against Argentina. That was a good win for them. France 30, New Zealand 29. What a big game that one was back in November, taking that one. And then also beating Japan in the November as well. They finished out the year strong, and the team is looking good. They've come into this tournament joint favourites in the betting odds with Ireland, because Ireland have got more away games this year. And it's going into it was always going to be between those two for me, who's going to probably go on to win the tournament. Haven't had time to do a video doing my full predictions and stuff, but I will make a note of it, and I will be honest about it if I get any of them wrong and what have you. But let's take a look at the team that's come out then. So this front row, Jean-Baptiste Gros going in alongside Malvaca and Antonio. Now there's a lot of weight. We know there is in the French scrum. Malvaca getting in there in the hooker position now, who I think genuinely might be one of the most sort of underrated players in all these sort of big international teams. Malvaca, I feel like, does so much in this France team, and doesn't necessarily get as much, sort of credit or as much acknowledgement as some of the other teams where you have people like Dan Sheehan over in Ireland. Right, Malvaca's confident playing that hooker. Since the World Cup, I've been very, very impressed with his work. He also just fills in back row. If you need him to, just sling him anywhere. Antonio there in the tight end position as well. An absolutely massive unit. We'll get on to talk about the scrums in a bit as well. Let's try and sort of skip through here, because in the lock department, Rumak going in alongside of Meafu, just to bolster Antonio in that front row, more weight behind, throwing it through. The scrum is certainly a devastating area. So Cam Wilkie this week, or Thibaut Flamand, which is some of the names that we're used to seeing in this French squad. In the back row, Francois Cross going in alongside of Paul Boudouin and Gregory Aldrit in the number 8 shirt. Now Boudouin last year, ooh boy, somebody to look out for your fantasy teams. I think going in this year, Paul Boudouin had some superb impacts into some of those games for France, and getting the starting position in the 7 now, I think is one to look out for in this French team this year. I think he's very, very good, and looking forward to see more of him. Overall, the scrum looking solid. The lock department, not having someone like Thibaut Flamand for the sheer speed as a forward. Rouman's still a good player to go in there. Would you wanted to have seen a change if the options were available to you? The scrum though is going to be a big point of talking for this one, because the Wales team is not doing great at the minute, but they are certainly beginning to hold up in terms of the scrum and the driving maul. It's two areas that Wales just about have control of in their games. So having this big weighty pack that can maybe try and take over those set piece areas could just be a blitz for the rest of the Wales team, unfortunately, of not being able to win sort of any areas. But hopefully Wales can compete, just to make the game a little bit more exciting, because it's a big old scrum that the France do have. Halfback partnership, though, bringing in the big guns for this one. Antoine Dupont going in there as captain, and Romain Ntamack coming back into the side in the fly half shirt. Two boys will enjoy some expansive, wide, wild passing, exciting rugby. I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward just to see France do pretty well, is how I'm feeling about going into this one. But two big names to bring in there. Centre partnership, Mo Fana going in alongside of Barassi, which it'd be nice to see a bit more from Barassi. I haven't seen a great deal of game time from him in the French jersey, so I'm looking forward to seeing a little bit more. And then in that back three, Louis Bielbiari going in alongside of Atis Sogbe and Thomas Ramos. They haven't messed around. I did have a question during the week for myself. I wonder if France won't put out the big guns for Wales. Wales are favourites this year, going in at 6th place. I wondered whether France might roll the dice and put out a more of the inline B team, and just try and get through the Wales game with still getting that win and save some players for next week. Which is a bigger game for them maybe, but they haven't. They've thrown them out. Get the game time in. Team chemistry, team cohesion. It's a shame for them. They've lost Damien Penaud, went out with his injury earlier in the week, so he'll be missing the Wales game. I think he's in line to get back for next week though. But Adesogbe had to step in the autumn internationals right as well for Damien Penaud, and played well. But Louis Bielbiaré is a different kind of animal in that French back three. Quickly then the replacement, Julien Marchand going in alongside of Cyril Bay and Georges-Henri Colombe, who's a big unit. He's a big old boy. There was something so interesting last year. He came on for Antonio in one of the games. I wanted to have it that it was against South Africa. It can't have been. It must have been against New Zealand or Argentina. And listen to the commentator say now, Colombe's a big boy, and Antonio is also a big boy, but there's two totally different skill levels there. And just being big isn't the same thing at the international level as maybe it was when you were in the under-20s and so on. And he came on in the scrum and got thrown backwards. And I thought, my goodness, that's a hard task to throw back such a big old unit as Colombe. Still a solid ball carrier. I'm really hoping he gets to work closely with Antonio, who's getting on now in a few years, and Colombe still a young lad coming up. I'm hoping he gets to spend more time with Antonio, work together, and that French front row can still remain as solid when he comes on from the bench, because he's a hard man to tackle when he's got the ball in his hands. But yeah, scrum, set piece, just got to be, on a different level when you get into the international scene, right? Rest of the replacements, then some new names along the way, which I always enjoy. I always enjoy keeping an eye out for some people. It's always a learning curve in rugby to keep on top of these new names. Oradou, Gillard, and Jegu. I'm going to have a guess at the pronunciation of that one. Some new names, and I'm looking forward to see some French lads with some lower caps getting in here. And then there's replacements back. Le Garec will be coming on at some point, who's always a buzz of excitement himself, and Gaëlton to come on as well. Probably, I assume I'm going to guess for Mo Farner. Maybe just, I'm trying to think in terms of keeping players on to give Barassi the full shot of the game. I would maybe bring him on for Mo Farner, or can slide out to the wing. Maybe they'll look to keep someone like BLBRE, wrapped in bubble wrap. Let him play half a game, move Mo Farner out onto the wing. Gaëlton can slide in at centre. It's a stacked French side, which is nice to see. We'll have a super fun opening. Anyway, I'm certainly keep your eyes up for some scores in this first game. Moving on to the Wales team then. A winless year, in its air quotes. It is a winless year. I did forget there was the game against the Queensland Reds that they won by 1 point. Which I forgot even happened, but it was a friendly game, so in the international window, I think it's still classed as a winless year for Wales. They are struggling. There are still injuries. The retired players of veterans is staggered this Wales team. The grassroots rugby's in some trouble as well. Club level wise, there's a couple of teams actually performing quite well. I've seen a few games since New Year's and actually been kind of impressed by a few players. Some players not even in the team for the Wales team in general, which caught me by surprise. But let's take a look at the team that's been announced. Gareth Thomas, Evan Lloyd, and Henry Thomas coming into this squad. Now, there's no Dewi Lake. He's out with his injury. There was talk about that he might just about get back in for some Six Nations time. I'm not entirely sure about that. It's a big step up now for Evan Lloyd. Elliot Dee's on the bench, who's still a decent hooker. Could have been looking to start this one, but it's a good shot for Lloyd to get in there. Will Rowlands and David Jenkins getting in the 4-5 position. So line out time might be an area they want to try and just disrupt France. France getting to play off the back of a set piece is such a dangerous thing. So just being able to disrupt. There was a few times last year where Wales not jumping, not competing, letting the other team have it and backing the maul, which is an area that has been of some strength for Wales, is having their own defensive maul be okay. But you've got to get in the air. You've got to disrupt. You've got to make a nuisance of yourself, even if you're just throwing a front man up, just to make the hooker throw over you, get down and get round for the maul. It's got to be important to go up against France and not just let them have a driving maul themselves. Big units in the French side. Back row, James Botham, Jack Morgan, and Aaron Wainwright getting in there. Might have been the three I would have gone for. Maybe I would have gone for Tommy Raffel. Maybe instead of Botham, but Botham's also been playing well. Jack Morgan has to be in this starting lineup for me. And Aaron Wainwright, I for me, is the most informed 8 in Wales for me at the minute. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. So looking forward to see that back row, playoff. There's some big units in the French, back row as well. Looking forward to see a lot of big tackles going in this one. Halfback partnership. Oh boy, what an interesting move this has been from Warren Gatland going into this one. Specifically the fly half. Right, Thomas Williams at 9 is fine. He's certainly a good run. There was no Ruben Morgan-Williams, and I've seen him play games, now since New Year's. I saw him, just before New Year's as well. Saw him play a couple of games, and I thought Ruben Morgan-Williams is a dangerous scrum half. He's kind of everywhere at the minute. Not in the team, not there. And I thought, that's an interesting in-call. But Thomas Williams probably still the main choice there for your scrum half at 9. Fly half, though. Ben Thomas in with, I think it's something like 2 caps at 10 is where he's currently at. And Dan Edwards down here on his 0 caps. It's a rough area. An area where most other teams have depth and strength. Wales don't. And it's going to be a big old contest. If I'm France, you're looking at Ben Thomas and breathing down his neck all day till he leaves the field, and then you're doing the same to Dan Edwards. You put him under the most pressure you can do. Maybe they'll look to keep him on. They've got Owen Watkin as we move on to the centre. Owen Watkin and Nick Tompkins in at centre. Maybe they look to keep Ben Thomas on in the second half, and they take either Owen Watkin off and Ben Thomas slides to 12. You take Nick Tompkins off, slide Owen Watkin to 13, move Ben Thomas to 12, and bring Dan Edwards on. So you have the double playmaker thing. I think it's going to be rough for that position, and it's an area of maybe concern in this Wales team. There was some talking. I saw Dan Bigger talking about it and saying, you want Gareth Anscombe, or you want someone in there just to have a drive for these players and some leadership, some veterancy in that position, and teaching them handling the ropes, because at the minute they're going in a little bit more blind into an international world. It's such a big step up for them. We'll see how they get on. And then finishing out in the back three for them, then Josh Adams, Tom Rogers, and Liam Williams. Tom Rogers, one of the boys who did impress me actually last year for the Wales team, so glad to see him back in. Liam Williams back in that fullback position now. Cam Winhead not in the side. Obviously not doing enough for Warren Gatland to keep picking him in there. Liam Williams, a solid fullback all round, and has experience. Josh Adams with experience as well. Even though Josh Adams, of course, getting on now, I think in his years a bit. And I do think there may be an opportunity to have put other wingers in there, maybe some lower cap players to have had a look. Tom Rogers is going to have a busy old day, keeping a track of Louis Bielbiaré, though. And then quickly in terms of the replacements, Elliot D, Nicky Smith, and Azarati. It's a decent enough front row. Nicky Smith and Elliot D will be, looking to hold of that scrum. Azarati, I've still not had the click for me where I go, I see why he's in this Wales team. It was the same with Domachowski. The step up for me has been too big, and I haven't seen it, and I think he'll be looking to be pressured there. Rest of the placement forwards, Freddie Thomas and Tommy Raffel, get on the pitch, make the impact. I spoke about, Paul Boudouin coming on in the autumn series, and what an impact he made for that France team. You want to see the same from players like Tommy Raffel. Certainly got the ability, just got to get in, make the most of your opportunity there. And then in the backs, Roger Williams, Dan Edwards, and Blair Murray, another one I'm looking forward to. There's also the Cardiff winger whose name's gone out of my head now. I think he's playing for the under-20s this year as opposed to being in the team. I saw him playing on the weekend and thought, he's another one that could be looking to get in there. Blair Murray, though, looking forward to see some more time with this Wales team. But what do we think is a scoreline? What do we think some predictions and some scorelines for this game? For me, it's a France win, right? I think this would be astonishing if Wales managed to turn this one around. They're certainly going in huge underdogs. I think for France, you're looking to take the most from this game. You're playing at home, opening match, big team, loaded up. 4 tries, try bonus point for France. It's about just trying to keep Wales, out of contention, and maybe just start adding the score on. Saw what the teams like Toulouse are doing in the club level games. I don't think it's outrageous to say we could be seeing something similar going into this one. Scrum wise, more wise, Wales have been okay, and it's probably the main area of strength for them. But the French pack is so massive. Look to take those penalties, take that away from Wales, and there's very little at the minute to really draw on, which is a shame. We all want to see a good Wales team in the Six Nations, right? But sometimes as underdogs, sometimes people don't expect enough from you, and you can cause some upsets. there were some surprise Wales picks going into this squad, and some surprise names left out along the way. Max Llewellyn, Rio Dyer, who I have my own questions about here or there, but I think attacking wise has been very good. Surprised to see a couple of names missed out for them. I'm certainly looking at a France win for this one. I think I'm going to go big. I think I'm going to go big for this one. I'm thinking I can see Wales maybe getting a try and looking to take some penalties just to get some scores on the board. I think France look for the 4 tries early on. I think they might even get 3 in the first half, and it could slip away from Wales quite quickly. I'm going to go for a France win. I'm going to say 32. I'm going to go big. I'm going to go big on the old scoreboard. But let me know your predictions down in the comment section, guys. Like I said, sign up to the fantasy if you've not already. You can get your own predictions in on Super Brew and prove you know more about rugby than me. And get your picks in for the teams now as we get announced. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because, of course, more videos coming out over the rest of this weekend, going over the rest of the team announcements for the rest of the games for the opening round of the Six Nations. I'll see you all next time, guys. Bye-bye.